Few sites on Earth are as majestic or as treacherous as the jagged region of Brittany located on the northwest coastline of France. Here can be found the legendary Carnac Stones, a collection of over 3,000 massive rocks, arranged in rows and other shapes, and spreading across more than 2 miles of French countryside.
You're talking thousands of stones that are aligned in straight rows, aligned in circles, aligned in squares and rectangles. Why are people doing this? Why are they putting so much time and energy into something? And the short answer, I believe, is that we really don't know.
According to local legend, the megaliths were originally invading Roman soldiers, turned to stone by Merlin the magician. But if it wasn't magic that created this forest of stones, who or what did?
Modern archaeologists would say that people who were one step removed from cavemen were quarrying these giant stones, some of them weighing 100, 200 tons, even up to 350 tons, and then somehow moving them into place. When you first look at the stones here at Carnac, they seem to be in haphazard shapes. But on closer examination, we can see that most of the stones have been cut on one side or another. And in fact, these granite megaliths are magnetized with the earth, and nearly all of them come to a point.
Stone magnets? Is it possible that these stones were really cut and positioned in such a way as to create some sort of geomagnetic field? But why?
Carnac as a place is highly charged with energy. As you walk down these stone corridors, you can feel this charge. Many tourists who come here also like to touch the stones and feel the energy coming off of them. And the people who built Carnac must have been highly knowledgeable of the Earth's energy fields.
According to a concept known as the world grid theory, certain places on our planet contain higher magnetic forces than others.
An interesting coincidence for all the megalithic structures we have around the Earth is that they're placed at specific points that could be harnessing an ancient world energy grid.
There are certain spots around the world which have traditionally been sacred, hallowed, vortexes, energy feels different there.
The ancient stone monuments were built to harness that force and that potential to create a funnel-like vortex.
When we look at things like the Giza pyramids or Machu Picchu or Baalbek in Lebanon, all of these are placed at specific geocoded locations which relate to this world energy grid.
Could Carnac be one of these locations? And might the combination of geomagnetic properties and the unique shapes of the stones themselves have allowed ancient builders to actually manipulate gravity? If so, where did this knowledge come from? And what ultimate purpose did it serve?
It wasn't until we were able to see these stones from above in a helicopter that we realized that Carnac was meant to be seen from the sky above us.
And that is one of only 3 things that you can see from outer space. It's Nazca, Great Wall in China, and Carnac.
Were they meant to be seen by people in the sky? And who could have been flying at that time other than extraterrestrials?
Ancient astronaut theorists Giorgio Tsoukalos and David Childress are in the remote Marquesas Islands. They are searching for clues that may help them solve some of the most compelling mysteries concerning an island located some 2,000 miles to their east, Easter Island. 1
think it's really fascinating that of all the standing heads in Easter Island, 7 of them actually point in the direction of the Marquesas. And so now the question is why? I think it's quite possible that the Marquesas and Easter Island are in fact connected.
But perhaps equally compelling, if not slightly disturbing, are numerous carvings found throughout the islands which depict strange, big-eyed gods known as tikis.
So right now we are at the tohu of Hikokua. The tiki placed on site like this, like really sacred site. They were made to scare the people away because they were telling, hey, this is a very sacred site, so be careful. If you step on the side, if you do something wrong, then something bad is going to happen to you.
So I think if we are talking about extraterrestrials in ancient times visiting, and you follow the ancient stories when they came down with fire, smoke, and noise, that is the reason why they were afraid. There are multiple other versions of the exact same motif worldwide, with people with elongated skulls and giant goggle eyes. Like what comes to mind immediately is in Peru.
Yeah, at Tiwanaku
yes.
and Pumapunku, you have these same goggle-headed, eyed
exactly.
people. You have that in Mexico too with the Olmec statues.
Yes. These may be depictions of actual extraterrestrials who visited the Earth thousands of years ago.
Eerily similar to the tiki of the Marquesas, figures with oversized skulls and enormous eyes have surfaced at archaeological sites throughout the world. Among these are the Dogu figures of Japan, the Aboriginal Wajina petroglyphs of Australia, the terracotta figurines recently unearthed in northern Ghana, the trickster god Eshu of the Yoruba people of Nigeria, and the stunning petroglyphs of Karahanj, otherwise known as Armenia's Stonehenge.
So it does seem that Tiki, he's walking, he's living and breathing. He's not just a spirit, is he?
No, he's not a spirit. So they say that Tiki is not really a god, but he's not really a man also.
Aniata, thank you so much for showing us everything here. It's truly tremendous.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Have a nice travel.
Thank you.
September 2019.
So here we're just on the edge of Tamwen Island.
Amazing.
After docking on Pohnpei's Tamwen Island, ancient astronaut theorists Giorgio Tsoukalos and David Childress are now approaching the ancient ruins of Madol by land. With them is Micronesia's National Historic Preservation Officer, Gus Kohler.
Okay, we're gonna make a left up there.
A left up here, okay.
This is it, huh?
This is it.
Yes.
To get an expert opinion on the construction of this staggering megalithic complex,
Let's do it.
Follow me.
they have enlisted UCLA Professor of Structural Engineering, Dr. Henry Burton.
I'm a structural engineer, so I think about how to design things to make sure that they move through structures in a way that they're stable.
You okay back there?
So my role is to bring a modern perspective on the structures that we're seeing here in Micronesia.
Wow, look at this.
Amazing, huh?
That's amazing.
I mean, look at some of those.
I know.
But I mean,
Look at that guy.
So here's this huge wall here full of prismatic basalt. How would you build that then today?
Well, you'd certainly need cranes, I can tell you that. Even for some of these smaller blocks, you're talking about on the order of tens of tons.
So how would you build this if you didn't have any cranes?
Well, that I can't think of any way that you'd be able to build this.
because one would argue perhaps this was done with some sort of scaffolding, but wouldn't you need really strong trees And they don't really have strong trees here to build that type of scaffolding.
Yeah, it's a mystery to me. I can't imagine how it could be built without cranes.
So, Gus, what is your tradition of how they built these walls?
Well, according to our oral history, these rocks came from the north. We're in the southeast, this area is the southeast. And in fact, the recent studies has been able to collaborate that 40% of these rocks actually came from the north.
And that is distance-wise, how long, how far?
Up to 20 miles, maybe?
20 miles? Okay.
Just imagine moving that boulder right there. How many people would it take to move that? What kind of a boat would you have that you could put that boulder on?
Well, I mean, you'd be talking about a barge, right? So there are barges that hold up to hundreds of tons. They have hundreds of tons in terms of capacity. So that's what you're talking about. You're talking about basically shipping barges.
Giant shipping barge.
Yes.
Like what we have today.
Yes.
The idea that people actually drag these things across a rugged terrain or on rafts is absolutely preposterous, in my opinion. The bottom line is that it is an impossibility to move 250 million tons of basalt from one side of the island to the other without modern technology, without modern machinery.
As a heavy rain suddenly sets in, the team makes its way through the ancient site and towards a remarkable feature in one of the basalt walls.
So the weather here changes every 30 seconds.
Yeah, welcome to Pohnpei.
For structural engineer Henry Burton, just as impressive as the size of the stones used to construct non-Madol is the engineering knowledge the ancient builders must have had.
So what's interesting about this is if you look at the doorway in any modern building and you open up the walls, you'll find a beam directly over the doorway. And why this type of beam is important is because it supports all of the load that's above it. It's called a lintel, right? So that's actually a structural element that's used in design. This is interesting because this is actually in bending, right? It's subtle, but this is actually a bending action that you're seeing here. And it becomes a little bit more interesting when you have to do the design.
What type of mathematics or physics is involved here?
Well, there are several things you have to think about. So first, you'd have to think about the load that's being placed on this, right? Then you would have to consider the structural mechanics. So you'd have to consider the cross-sectional properties of this thing. You would have to consider the material properties. Now, if we're talking about sort of what governs the bending shape of this thing, then there's some actual calculus involved in understanding that.
Dr. Burton said that in order to calculate these stress levels, he would need advanced mathematics such as calculus. And that is a pretty tall order because even archaeologists would have to admit that calculus did not exist in the 1100 AD.
Outside the ruins of Sacsayhuaman, just a mile and a half from the Coricancha Temple in Cusco, are little-known entrances to underground passageways dating back to the Inca. Many of the openings have been covered up and sealed for public safety, but a few still remain accessible. In 2017, David Childress visited the site of one of the remaining open tunnels.
There is a labyrinth of tunnels beneath Cusco, and they extend for hundreds of miles in every direction. And some of these tunnels even intersect. Over the years, these tunnels have been blocked off and sealed, but you can still access parts of this tunnel system, such as this tunnel here, cut through solid rock. Local legend says that the sun disk was transported out of the city through these tunnels. There's been a lot of speculation of where the sun disk was taken, and treasure hunters have been searching for this location for centuries.
Legends recount 3 myths as to how the sacred golden sun disk left Cuzco. Some legends maintain that it was taken out through a tunnel system to Gran Patiti, a lost Inca village at the top of a mountain which the Spanish never ever found. Some maintain it was taken to Sacsayhuaman. And some maintain it was returned to Lake Titicaca, from whence it came.
Located more than 200 miles southeast of Cusco, at an elevation of over 12,500 feet above sea level, Titicaca is the highest navigable lake in the world and considered sacred to the local Andean population.
In the Incan creation myth, their god Viracocha emerged from Lake Titicaca. This goes along with ancient myths and legends that tell us that there's an etheric or ethereal city that's underneath Lake Titicaca. In light of this, it makes sense that the Incas returned their prized golden disc to the lake.
The temple was said to be a thing of imagination, a thing of wonder, until the year 2000. In the year 2000, a team of Italian divers and scientists ventured to the base of Lake Titicaca after finding a road of Inca stones. They followed the road for just less than half a mile into the lake and discovered a 650 by 150 foot temple underneath the waters of Lake Titicaca.